Hello and good evening to a new episode of Mind Explorations. These are the Chicago Mid-America Hypnosis Conference sessions with speakers from the conference that is going to take place in Chicago on the 17th to the 19th of October 25. If you would like to join us, find the link inside the description and join us there live. And you will also see Rick Crici to write down how you pronounce the last name because apparently everybody gets it wrong, and I got my 2 tries wrong as well. So,
No, you
Rick,
got it. You got it. Perfect.
it's sorry. I'm yeah. So welcome, Rick.
Thank
How
you.
are you doing? Of you to join us.
Doing great. Thanks. It's nice to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, you are going to speak at the Chicago conference, but you are not only a hypnotherapist. So, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you do now.
Sure. Yeah. Good afternoon and evening to everyone, wherever you are. And so, yeah, again, Rick Creasy. You said my last name perfectly. Thank you. Only one teacher my whole life got that right, so
Oh,
it was a proud moment. But yeah, so I'm going to talk at the conference about the power of choice and specifically the choices that we make as hypnotherapists, coaches, with respect to running our businesses and acting as the CEO of that business. I'm a hypnotherapist, an executive coach, a consultant in the healthcare space, but the power of choice became evident to me. It's a very interesting, at least I think, my mom does too, interesting and unique journey in that I learned about this when I was writing a book to capture and put together a memoir for my
hmm
children with respect to my teach learning as a martial arts student. So it became evident to me soon into my training 40 something years ago that I was learning a lot more than just self-defense. I was learning about all of these things that would apply and help me in my personal and professional life. And when I was writing the memoirs, it became evident that all of these things that I was learning in the martial arts really had to do with the choices that I was making as a result of learning these things. Like that's how my life shaped. It was from these choices that I made, and the martial arts gave me the foundation and experience to hopefully make the proper choice sometimes. Most of the
Yeah.
time I was shooting for all the time. It doesn't work that way. And so I then began bringing this philosophy to my clients as a consultant and in the healthcare world. And then I went and trained on hypnotherapy and worked with some great leaders in Mike Mendel, Freddie and Anthony Jacquin, Rich Guzzi. A number of other people have taught me over the years, and now I apply this to personal and executive coaching also.
Wonderful. So, can you just quickly explain the connection between martial arts and the power of choice? How do
Yeah.
we make choices in martial arts?
Yeah, so the connection between the martial arts and the power of choice is this, and I say so I've written this book called Simply Life: Mastering the Tools for Everyday Success. And what it is it's a group of 9 tools that we learn as martial arts students. And for anybody who's trained before, maybe they can kind of put the correlation together. For those who haven't trained, I think you're going to know these principles, things like these tools, things like foundation, respect, character, willpower, balance, awareness, things like that. So they teach you these things in the martial arts through a series of moves and self-defense techniques. And my teacher is very philosophical, and he would say things to us after class that had to do with the lessons, the things that we were learning, repetition. He would say things like, nothing is learned until it's remembered.
hmm
Um, practice as if it's real, and when it's real, it'll seem like practice. So these principles to me were very deep, and I began to say, let me think about that for a minute. Take some notes on it. And I soon realized that really everything that we have in life, where we are as hypnotherapists and coaches, is a direct result of the choices that we have made. Now, some people don't like to hear that, but as we get into the session with them, we break it down. This is not it's a judgment-free zone. I've made thousands of mistakes as a consultant and through learning coaching and hypnotherapy. We all make mistakes as we kind of begin to master this trade, but there's a direct correlation. It's obvious, and it becomes very obvious to people that the choices they make have a profound effect on the businesses that they've developed.
hmm
So with
So,
that,
so you've got a wide range of clients. You said you're in the healthcare space and you
definitely.
work with people on their practices,
Yes.
but also higher level people, right? So what's the common thread among all of them,
But
the whole range?
all of those
hmm
people.
Yeah.
So, I hate to be so repetitive, but really the common thread is that it's where they are in life is a direct result of their choices. we can take two people that come from the same family.
Hmm.
Parents were, I'm just making up a hypothetical, super wealthy people, great education for their kids. The kids are identical twins, same house. One kid goes off the rails, the other kid becomes, a highly successful professional. We see it all the time. So, and a lot of us, myself included, I came from a very lower to middle class family with blue collar workers, struggling to get by. I mean, my family, I'm third generation. The first generation came right over from Italy, worked very blue collar jobs. My parents, the same thing. But there's only so many times we can go to that well and say, well, I don't have this because of, my upbringing, or I do have this because of my upbringing. You don't have it, or you do have it because of the choices you've made. Now, the upbringing gives you the foundation, which is one
Hmm.
of the tools that we discuss in my book and in my practice. I refer to it all the time. But ultimately, at some point in time, we have to take responsibility for the choices we make. So that's the common thread, that people,
Hmm.
through training and through coaching with them, they soon begin to realize that. And as soon as you really fully appreciate the fact that your choices impact your results, you can change anything.
Hmm. Right. So let me be a bit more specific on what I meant. So what are the sets of choices that you would normally discuss with a hypnotherapist wanting to start a practice? My group
Sure.
Mind Explorations, they're mainly hypnotherapists starting, or they've just started a few years ago,
Sure.
and a high level executive. What are the sets of choices that they normally have to make or just have made
Yep.
and might regret? Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great question. So this is something that I'll be talking about at the conference. And so
Hmm.
there are there are hundreds of choices, thousands that we've all made today. What
Hmm.
we're going to eat, whether or not we're going to eat. Am I going to go for a run? What am I going to wear? What about this? About so so that can take forever to go through all the choices. However, your question about the common thread kind of strikes right to what I'm going to be discussing in Chicago, and that is this. So
Hmm.
I'm going to be focusing on how I can help the hypnotherapist, the coach, the NLP practitioner become a highly successful CEO of their business, whether it's just them or they've got other therapists working with them. And the top three choices are across the board for the dermatologists I work for and with, the plastic surgeons and the hypnotherapists. And they are, first one is choosing your identity before your actions. So that's the
Hmm.
first choice. The second is choosing structure over chaos. And the third is being proactive rather than reactive. So those are all choices. For example, choosing your identity before your actions. Now, we can take the example of a dermatologist, and I'm sure the hypnotherapists and coaches and NLP practitioners here would find some common ground in that dermatologists, they go to school to be a dermatologist. So they learn
Hmm.
everything you can learn about skin and taking care of us and curing, helping us with cancerous conditions and cosmetic conditions and rashes and all these kinds of things.
Hmm.
They come out of school, and if they work for a hospital, that's fine. But if they come out of school and their parents or their spouse or they want to set themselves up in practice, they will tell me they have no idea how to do that. They say, look, I went to school for medicine. I don't know anything about business. So how am I going to do that? Um, there's a lot of things that they need to do in order to get to that point. But the first thing in being successful is choosing their identity before their actions. So are you the dermatologist seeing patients right now? Or are you the CEO of your business that has 10 employees? And
Hmm.
are you at a point now where you have to make decisions about payroll and performance reviews and increases? Because nobody taught them how to do those things, but it's really not rocket science. To do a performance evaluation is not complicated, especially if somebody as highly educated as that. But if you've never learned it, you've never learned it. So
Hmm.
choosing their identity before their actions so that then they take the proper set of actions or the choices they take to be successful as business leaders, business owners.
Hmm. Right.
Same
So
is true.
yeah,
Sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
The same is true for anybody on this call or who will listen to this. I mean, as a hypnotherapist, coach, I know a lot of people, and this is not to be critical. We are people helpers, and there's nothing more admirable to me than that. We're nothing more noble than that, trying to help people. But a lot of people who do this are really good at it, but they're not able to earn a living doing it. I would suggest that the reason for that is because they are stuck in the practitioner mode.
Hmm.
So they do not spend enough time focused on their business. They're very reactive. to phone calls that come in and emails that come in, all these things that come in throughout the day. And then it's 11 o'clock at night and it's time to do things for your business. And their website looks the same for 15 years. And there are errors here and errors, and those things are what,
I feel caught.
hurt
Yes.
them. Yeah, right.
Our website is
Well,
completely out of date. Yeah, exactly.
that's
So,
okay.
in identity, you mean the position that you have during that day or that task that you're doing? You're not talking about pick your niche. So, for example, I specialize in rashes as a dermatologist, or I work with only anxiety as a hypnotherapist. That's not
Correct.
what you mean. Mm-hmm.
Correct. I'm suggesting that you are right now as the, say, the dermatologist. Are we business person
Mm-hmm.
dermatologist or are we doctor, practitioner, provider dermatologist? Because if you're in the middle of your workday seeing 40 patients and now I hit you with, hey, I've got an idea and I think we should expand the practice and bring in another provider and open up another office, you're just not in the right mind
Mm-hmm.
space to have that discussion from a logical perspective. You can emotionally respond and say, it's a great idea, go do it. And now
Mm-hmm.
I could go off and spend millions of your dollars doing this. And then I could come back to you and you could, not literally, but just kind of being facetious, but come back to you and say, I found the building, I found the doctor, let's go. And then you say, what are you talking about? And I go, well,
Yeah.
remember that time no, I don't remember that at all. They weren't in the right mindset. So I
Yeah.
am suggesting that hypnotherapists, dermatologists, all of us as providers or people helpers, we need to set up that time. In fact, one of the choices that I share with people is to set up specific time for you to be the CEO. So we call it CEO block time.
Mm-hmm.
And things that need to be accomplished during that time are very specific. And so we help people accomplish those tasks. And you don't have to do it all at once. You didn't learn. I mean, I don't think anybody here went through training like I went through a very, specific and several different training programs. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe I know anybody who goes through the training program and boom, you've got it. Like
Yeah.
you go, wait a minute. I mean, that was cool. When I was in class, it worked with my partner, but do I really want to try this on people yet? Or do you want to kind of master that craft? And so we need to take some time getting better at it. And that's all it really is practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have different time frames, different yeah, different days, maybe even for our different roles. Would you say that the power of choice has a lot to do, or a bit to do, with productivity then? Because I know this strategy from productivity.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. I mean, again, leaning on my experience, and for those people who are watching this, I've been working with plastic surgeons, dermatologists, other medical and dental providers for 30 years. So it's
Mm-hmm.
quite some time. Now, we would probably all agree that anybody who goes to medical school and comes out and gets board certified or whatever the similar thing is in each respective country, that person, that doctor knows what he or she is doing. They get it. Like they are qualified. So, then I run into, and I've worked with hundreds of them. And so let's just take a handful of people. One person in that role is earning $1 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Another person is earning $200,000 a year. So I look at the differences. Now, when I go in as a consultant, most people do not say to me, I want to make $1 million a year. They just say, I don't know what's wrong. There's something wrong. I'm not doing as well as I should. I see all these reports that tell me I should be earning X, but I'm not. What is it that I can do? And I say, look, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you now, this minute. We have to look at what you're doing versus what other people are doing. Now, clearly, if you make the same choices and decisions and you have the skill set to do this, if you make those choices and decisions and I put you in that same environment as that other person, you should make the same thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
just as, one of my analogies that I often refer to, and it's kind of going off the rails here, is that of a recipe. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother was an incredible cook from Florence, Italy, and I miss her for lots of reasons, and certainly for her cooking. I grew up with my grandparents, and so she could put me in the kitchen, give me the recipe, and I could follow it. But if I don't follow it to a T, I don't get the same result. So if I
Yeah.
decide to cook, do this with my pasta, but she did that, or if I use this flour because it's cheaper, you're not going to get the same result. And so
Mm-hmm.
people say, I'm doing everything that he or she is doing, but they're really not doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that missing ingredient is the key to finding the same success.
Mm-hmm. So people who want to do this on their own, themselves to find out what they're missing, how would
Mhm.
you advise them to go about this without a coaching session with you or whatever you do
People
with
people
them?
who are hypnotherapists and,
Hmm.
and coaches.
Yeah, let's
So I
stay
would
with that.
suggest this same thing that I suggest in all of my business endeavors over the years. Find somebody who's doing exactly what you want to do. Find someone who's getting those results and ask him, ask her, especially in this field because we are people who are interested in helping people.
Hmm.
So if you find that person A is looks like he or she has a great practice, they look happy all the time, they seem to have enough money to sustain a living. Ask them, how do you do it?
Hmm.
What do you do? And you will find, I believe, if you're not finding that similar success, you're gonna hear differences. You're gonna see differences. Now, the real question comes down to this: are you going to implement the choices that you need to make in
Hmm.
order to achieve the success that that person has? I
Right.
mean,
What keeps people from making the right choices, even if they know them?
yeah. You know, well, they're all great questions. That's a really great question. And so what I have found keeps people from making the right choices is one, sometimes we think that's not going to work for me. I hear a lot like my environment's different. My experience is different. I have a different population than you
Hmm.
have. So that's something that's pretty big. So it's a lot of self-doubt. And so I work with I work with practitioners like all of us here to help develop and build confidence. We find out where their deficiencies are. And so if you're going to do it on your own, that's what you have to do. You have to go, let me be an open book. Like one of the tools we teach in my book is called Shoshin, a Japanese term which literally translates to beginner's mind. So the day
Hmm.
you walk into the karate class, you're like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know if I'm ever going to get any of this, but I'm a sponge. I'm going to learn it all today. And then eventually you're like, oh yeah, I got this. And that's when you get boom, right in the head, right? Because you think you know it all. And so being open-minded to hearing from the people who are willing to share what their experiences are and what has helped them be successful, that's the first thing. And then taking action is second. And what prevents people from taking that action more often than not is self-doubt and confidence. And that's
Hmm.
something that absolutely can be helped. Many of the people who will listen to this and watch this have helped a ton of people, I would imagine, develop self-confidence and have major breakthroughs. So why don't we have a turn for ourselves?
Hmm. Right. So do people recognize what their deficiencies are on their own, or do they need somebody to give them a nudge? Hey, this, I see this is wrong, or you're doing this differently than the successful person.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're limited. All of us are limited. This is not a slight or a criticism against anyone. I am the same way. I think we're limited, right? We live in our world. I live in my head. I live in my space, and I think I know what I'm doing for the most part.
Hmm.
Then you meet with someone else sometimes and you have these experiences where you're like, wow, I never really understood it to that level. I mean, for all of us, when we go to a conference and we learn from one of these,
Yeah.
fantastic uh, hypnotherapy teachers or hypnotists, you learn techniques even after, I mean, I've only been doing this 5, 6, 7 years, but I hear from people all the time who are at these conferences and they've been doing this for 15 years. And I'm going, why are you here? Don't you know this stuff yet? In my head.
Yeah.
And the reality is you can always learn something. So I think having a coach, having somebody help you, brings more objective, it means brings some more of an objective look at where the deficiencies may be. Now, a lot of times, as a consultant, I say this all the time. I say, I advise you decide. So as a coach, I say, look, here are the things that I believe you could use some help with. But if
Hmm.
you don't believe it, probably not going to be successful.
Hmm. What's the greatest issue that people have that you found to be a common thread when they're making the wrong choices? What is is it just the lack of confidence, or is it the lack of belief in themselves? What would you say is the most common thing that you can encounter?
So I think there's two things. Confidence is certainly one of them, but that's a cop out because I already gave you that one.
Yes.
So the other thing really is the skill set. Like have you ever seen, I mean, maybe we could pull this up, but the Johari window. I use this a lot in my talks. It's the four
Oh,
quadrants that maybe some of us have seen. And there's four quadrants that shows like you know what you know. And then there's another quadrant, you know what you don't know. And that's fine.
yeah.
So you know how to put someone
Conscious
in.
competence, etc. That one. No,
Yeah,
that
it's the knowns and the unknowns. And so you know what you know what you don't know is the other quadrant. The another one is you don't know what you know. So you don't even realize that
yes,
you know these things. And then there's
found
this
it.
fourth quadrant of you don't know what you don't know. And that's where all of my work is. You don't
Yeah,
even know that you should be doing these things. So how the heck could you be doing them? You don't know these things exist. You don't know that these decisions impact your business. So you don't know what you don't know. And so when
yeah.
you learn those things, those skills, yeah, I have a really great Johari window that speaks specifically to hypnotherapists and coaches, and I could probably
Uh,
pull it up very,
I've
very
just
quick.
put a random one
Okay.
into the chat for everybody who's watching.
I'll
So,
send mine.
known to self and known to others, not known to self and not known to others.
Right. So the fourth box, usually the bottom right corner, is you don't, not known to
Unknown.
yourself, not known to others. We also
Yeah,
say you don't know what you don't know. That's a really good
yeah,
way with many
yeah.
people. Like, I didn't even know that like I didn't know anything about
Hmm.
hypnosis. I didn't know how deeply rooted in NLP it was, how much psychology there is to this. Like I
Hmm.
just thought someone snapped their fingers and people, and that person was magic. And I'm
You
like,
tell
no.
them you do this from now on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't
right.
work quite like that.
So it's a matter of having the skills to do it and
Hmm.
then having the confidence to implement the skills. Now, a lot of people who have the training that most of us probably have the skills. You can
Yeah.
do it. Then the question is, well, why aren't you doing it? And it's usually because a little reluctant. What if it doesn't work? I'm going to look silly. And that's what stops people from doing these things.
Yeah. So you're going to look silly. So that's got a lot of fear of judgment from others, really.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah. Um, okay, let
It's a
me
lot of
let me
that.
go back. I think I had a question right there. So how does all your knowledge in, you said business operations, leadership development, and private practice strategy, how does all that play into helping people, especially now, let's stick with hypnotherapists and NLP practitioners.
Sure.
There's a big difference there, isn't there, when you have a small practice compared to the big CEO with the hundreds potentially of employees,
Yeah.
correct? Or is that, yeah.
There is. There's huge difference in terms of how you would manage that. However, the same principles hold true for any successful business. And in
Hmm.
doing what we're doing, when I work with people and other coaches and people work with people, you would hope that we bring a certain level of compassion, understanding. Like I understand that people don't have these skills, so to ask them to do things before giving them the skill is really unfair. It's like taking
Hmm.
your kid out to play. You put him on the football team and he's never seen a football before. He's probably not going to be that successful, or you're, throwing someone in a pool and saying swim. You've heard that story before. I didn't do that to my kids. We taught them how to swim first and we said, go,
Yeah.
be free. And so, um, I think having the compassion is something that the CEO in a big business and even a small business like most of our practices, you need to have that. So your coaches need to have that in working with you in order to help you find success. And
Hmm.
then acknowledging all of the small successes that we have along the way.
Hmm.
That's a really important component also because it helps build confidence and it helps
Hmm.
to ingrain that in our thinking. Um, Before I started martial arts training, I mean, I'm a huge person right now at 5'8", 150 pounds. And so
Okay.
before that, before that in college, I was even smaller. So I was only like 5'6", 120 pounds. So you're not this imposing force. And so
Hmm.
I was training and doing my thing, and one day, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, you feel like you got it, like you get it. And then years later, I'm teaching a martial arts class. I had a couple of schools back on Long Island, and one of my friends got to the point where he became an orange belt, which is about 6 months of training. And he came up, and he's an attorney, and he came up to me and he said, Rick, I get it. He goes, I didn't get it for like the first 5. I don't know what the heck I was doing. I was walking around doing all these, but I didn't get it. But now I feel like I could do this. And there's
Hmm.
this level of like confidence that comes after you've trained and done something over and over to the point where now you go, I've got this. That is very difficult to replicate. I can't make that up. I can't just take that from here and give it to someone. You have to develop that over time.
Hmm.
It makes a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. So for hypnotherapists, etc., it's practicing their craft over and over until they've got it
Yeah.
under the belt,
Yeah. And
basically.
so,
Yeah.
as a coach to people who want to be successful in their business, one of the things, so I build rapport, I get
Hmm.
to know you. Say we were working one-on-one. Astrid, you say, hey, my business, I want to be a full-time hypnotherapist, but I'm only making X dollars a year and I need Y dollars in order to sustain my life and my family. I go,
Mhm.
great. So we set up our goal sheet. We go through the things that you are trying to accomplish. Then we say, well, where are you? And we talk about, well, where's the gap? Let's look at the gap. And then we start talking about why, why does this gap exist? And I hear you out because
Mhm.
your own interpretation and impression of those things is most important. Because I don't know, I can't take you where you need to go if I don't know where you're living right now in your mind, right?
Mhm.
Okay, we have to kind of break down some of those thoughts and give her more confidence. Or,
Mhm.
well, she's got the confidence, it must be something else. So we move on to the next thing. And
Mhm.
so you work with the person to determine where these, I hate the word, but deficiencies are, or where the skill set is lacking. And then you slowly build these things in and you layer them and you continue to add to them and you work with them and over and over and over. And so what I'll do with hypnotherapists is I'll say, once I build rapport and once we kind of had several discussions, I'll say, look, I think, you're feeling pretty comfortable. Tell me about your thoughts. Yeah, I feel great. I can do anything. Let's go, Rick. I will have them do some hypnotherapy on me. I mean, I've got 1,000 problems. So you can work with me on anxiety, confidence, and all kinds of other stuff.
Mhm.
And so we'll do it and we'll record it and then we'll analyze it and we'll say, well, what do you think about this? That's helping them become a better hypnotherapist. But what
Mhm.
I really like to focus on is the business side. What can you do differently to be better at business? Like, why do you think you're not great at business? What would make you understand and believe that you are doing a great job in business?
Yeah.
And then let's help them get there.
So you would teach people business as well, or tell them to learn more about business,
Yes.
bookkeeping, or are you
Oh, yeah.
more into delegating or learning it yourself?
Yeah. So I don't think anything should be delegated until you understand it yourself. And then at
Hmm.
that point, yes, you can delegate. So some of the things that we'll talk about at the conference will also have to do with some of the things you just mentioned. Like, yeah, as boring as it is, bookkeeping is a really important part of it. So I'm
Hmm.
going to provide a financial workbook that shows that has several worksheets in it, one for your own personal finances and another for your business. Uh,
Hmm.
like again, a lot of hypnotherapists, probably everybody on the call here and all of the listeners do all this stuff. But for the other people who don't do this stuff, do we record how much money we earn each day, each week, week over
Hmm.
week, year after year? Do we have a goal as to what we want to earn? Are we doing the things that it takes to earn that? So we'll have a financial tracker in place of the proper intake form. We certainly talk about bookkeeping, about the setup of the business. What kind of
Hmm.
marketing dollars should you be spending, if any? A lot of people spend so much money on websites or social media and they boost things and they get them and then you go and you click on that Calendly and they don't have it set up. Even though they put
Yeah.
the link in, they don't have it set up. Or they have it set up, but they don't have any appointments except for, a midnight to 1 in the morning. And you go, well, that's not going to work for half of the world.
Yeah.
So those business things that may be overlooked, the bookkeeping, certainly the protection from liability, um, financial tracking, all of that stuff is discussed in the program that I offer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So once you build security around the business thinking, or well, confidence around business thinking, then you can go expand your comfort zone further without fear, basically. Is that
I hope
correct?
so. I mean that
Yeah.
is the mission. And so
Hmm.
yeah, most people get there. It takes a little bit of time, but I think again, through having repetitive, successful experiences, we tend to feel more confident.
Mm.
It's not going to be
Yeah.
the case for everybody, but most people react that way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of, some practitioners go ahead and put their links or their profiles onto websites, hypnotherapy dot something,
Mhm.
as yeah, to get clients that way. And sometimes I believe they even get paid via a platform. So you might even be an employee or yeah, a freelancer of a platform, and you don't
Right.
have to do any bookkeeping, anything yourself. Would you
Mhm.
think that has advantages, or is it for your, as a for the whole person, would it be
Yeah.
um disadvantageous? What do
Yeah,
you think?
so I think it could be helpful to people to get clients,
Hmm.
but I also think that the type of client. So again, another one of the things that I talk about when we have lots of time, through the program is attracting the right client. And the right client for me may not be the right client for you.
Yeah.
So if you specialize in And if I specialize in anxiety training and somebody else specializes in weight loss, and I put my advertisement out on a site, or I respond to things for something that I don't really treat normally, I
Mhm.
may get a hit. I may have to spend some credits to get that, or spend a few dollars to get that. But then I bring this person in, let's say I work with them. I don't know how
Mhm.
successful I would be. I would have some volume, but I may get some bad press out of that, maybe a bad review, something that's not going to help my business. So what I tend to do is work with people and, again, identify what they want,
Mhm.
ask some questions to determine if they're willing to take the steps, the actionable steps. We call them choices. I say in my book a million times, the choice is yours and life is all about choices. And so,
Mhm.
are they willing to make the choices? Because if we did a poll and said, who wants to be healthy? Everybody's hand goes up. Who wants to be healthy? Everybody's hand goes up. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you do the more rhetorical question because you don't want to embarrass anybody. And I say, if I'm in a room of 100 people, how many people want to be healthy and live a while? Okay, everybody's hand goes up. How many people eat red meat more than twice a week? How many people smoke? How many people drink more than 2 or 3 drinks? How many people eat sugar all day long? How many people
Mm.
drink diet soda? You go through these things. And again, I do a rhetorical question only because I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But everybody's sitting there going, that's me.
Yeah.
And so we know what we want. We think we know what we want. But then I'm questioning, are you really interested in making the decisions and taking action on the things that you know will get you there? You know, if you exercise, eat less sugar, burn more calories than you take in, you're going to lose weight, you're going to be healthier. You know that,
Mhm.
but are you willing to do it? And that's where they say the rubber meets the road.
And where do you say that comes from? Because that's not confidence. That's not a lack of confidence. When somebody's not willing to lose weight or stop doing the unhealthy thing,
Mhm.
what is that?
Mhm. To me, um, it's what's going on in my life right now.
Mm.
It's the is the work worth the reward? Am I going to see it in seconds? And the
Mhm.
fact is no. Go back to the martial arts training. Everything in my life goes back to martial arts training. My teacher's from Japan. His teacher sent him here when he's 17 years old and said, "Go open up a school. The martial arts are going to be huge in America." And so he came here, and there was no belt system in
Mhm.
his style. But he came here and he said, "You know what? No offense to the Americans, I'm one of them." He said, "If you are not rewarded, you're just not going to stick with it."
Yeah.
Especially kids, right? Kids, if they don't go from white belt to yellow belt in like days, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to do it anymore. They want the cookie, they want the prize.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a lot of here in the United States, it's all I can speak of. And I'm not trying to say that our people are terrible and spoiled and all that sort of stuff, but some people are a bit needy. And if they
Mhm.
don't get that reward, they're not willing to stick with the program. It's hard. You take somebody who wants to lose weight and they're say 150 pounds overweight, and you can't snap your fingers and make that happen overnight. And
Mhm.
we all know this. We say things not as directly as this, but it took a long time to put on that weight. It's going
Mhm.
to take a long time to take it off. However, if you make these choices and implement this lifestyle from here on out, you will be on the road to recovery. Now,
Mhm.
you let that person go and never check in with him or her again, chances are they go into relapse. But
Mhm.
if you give them some positive feedback and encouragement along, it doesn't have to be a new colored belt. But if you call them up and say, "Hey, John, how you doing? I know we had this talk last week. How's it going?
Mhm.
Tell me what's going on." People tend to react and respond well to that. But real direct answer to your question is I think it's a matter of not getting the reward so quickly, and that's part of the
Mhm.
problem.
So that's transferable again from health to business.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
you did say celebrate success, but what kind of successes would you celebrate when you're in the beginning and you're just, doing all the work, you're working on the website, you're doing this, you're doing all of the things to build
Right.
up. How do you celebrate? What is it that you would tell them to celebrate or
Sure.
to use as a reward?
Yeah. So as a business coach, helping someone who is an active hypnotherapist, I would say, that's just the fact that you have a website is fantastic. It separates you from thousands of people who are claiming to do what you do. The fact that you post something that looks good and makes sense and you boost it and you have 5 shares or 10 shares, like all of that stuff is great. It is getting you closer to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Again, here in the States, American football, pretty big sport. you don't go from the 1 yard line to the other 1 yard line most of the time in a matter of seconds. You chop away
Mhm.
at it a couple of yards at a time or a couple
Mhm.
of meters at a time. And eventually you make it across the field 100, all the way down the field, which is 100 yards. It's the same thing with business. You have to celebrate the small successes, or that's what I found, or most people will just revert to what they think is working for them or what
Mm.
they know, like what they're comfortable with. We all stay in our comfort zone. We all say,
Yeah.
you got to get out of your comfort zone in order to challenge yourself. If you want different results, you have to do things differently, right? We've heard millions of times, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But do we live by that logic?
Mm. Usually not, no. But we also usually don't step out of the comfort zone and, a mile ahead. We normally keep one foot in the comfort zone
Yeah.
and stick one foot out. What brings the better results?
That. I mean, sticking with your foundation and what got you to be the person that you are. I mean, there's a reason that we all went and trained to become hypnotherapists. It's not because we don't want to help people. So
Hmm.
here you go, you've got a good person, based on my assessment of people. I've got a good person. I know that. And
Hmm.
so I want them to stay grounded in what drove them to become a hypnotherapist, a coach, an NLP provider, all of the people helpers. Let's keep that person doing what he or she is doing.
Hmm.
Let's just turbocharge them with some business skills that perhaps they didn't get. A lot of us didn't go to business school. A lot of us don't have an MBA. A lot of us haven't run businesses or worked as a consultant to businesses. And then some of us have, and I just happen to be one person, and there are many and people who are, doing what I'm doing. Some of us have done that. And so find the person that you connect with who you think can help you and and take off with that, because it is the fastest way to find success. When I've worked for 30 years as doctors, I go into their office and this is the first thing I say to them. After the pleasantries and introductions, I say, look, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know. I don't have any secrets to uncover for you. I've done this 300 times and I'm going to fast forward the learning curve. Instead of going up and down in your practice for the next 5 years, I'm going to take you from A to B quickly. We're going to get
Hmm.
there like tomorrow. Then we're going to go from B to C quickly. It's going to be a week. Instead of you fumbling through this and losing money and time and being stressed, I'm going to tell you exactly what works. And it's not my genius. It's the fact that I've seen it in other practices. All I'm doing is taking what they do that's successful and bringing it to the next office. And I've made a career of that for 30 years. And there are some little things that I teach them that they don't know, but not much.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's imagine you've got one of those many hypnotherapists who are freshly qualified. They've got no idea, or that's their first course that they've ever done, and they
Mhm.
have no idea about business because they've done something completely different before. They've never done marketing, none of those skills that you would need as a business person. So
Right.
all of they have is their hypnotherapy certification. What are the first 5 steps you tell them to do?
The first 5 steps to build that business.
Hmm.
Oh, look at your finances, determine your budget, determine what your goals are, identify your deficiencies, and find someone who can help you get through those deficiencies.
Hmm.
So I
And
think
what do
that
I do
was,
with my budget, etc.?
sorry?
What do I do? You said look at your budget. What do I do with my budget?
So I want to know what it is. Like if I'm working with them, I want to know what it is. If they say, I have $5 to my name and I just want to make this thing blow up and I need to earn 50 grand next year, I'm
Hmm.
going to be very honest with them and tell them that it's not likely to happen.
Hmm.
And because what they need to do is they need to get some money so that they can do some of the things that they need to do,
Hmm.
whether it be train with someone who's a little bit more seasoned, even though they've got the skills, you want to continue that training, whether it
Yeah.
be build a website, whether it be speak with a lawyer or an accountant because he or she is going to request some money for their time. So I'm going to tell them to first go and do that, cut
Hmm.
lawns, do whatever you have to do to make that money. And then when you've got say $1,000 or $1,500 to put towards this business, which is a nominal amount for most of us, then you could begin the building blocks
Hmm.
towards a quote unquote real business.
Hmm.
So I'm going to help them identify again the deficiencies. And if the deficiency is money, we're going to stop right there because there's no reason to go any further.
Hmm.
I'm very honest and very real. And I would rather not work with someone who is not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And when he or she is ready, maybe they'll call me back.
Hmm. Right. So we did discuss before we started recording that you might do a demo, and we decided against doing that live on this show. Why is that? Can you explain that again?
Yeah, so the work that I would do with your group would most likely be how do I become a powerful CEO of my business?
Hmm.
So when I do that, I typically, again, do all the things, build rapport, get to know the person, get to know what they want, and then we start doing some hypnotherapy.
Hmm.
So I may do and most likely would do a visualization technique. And anyway, without giving away the secrets to that, because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. And I'll do it, for free with any of you. So I'm not looking for that angle, but I want them to be in the experience when it happens. It tends to get emotional because there are a lot of things that each of us are likely to believe that is holding us back.
Hmm.
And even though may say, sure, I'll do a demo right now. When that comes out, I don't know how happy they're going to be about it. And I don't want anybody to
Yeah.
be unhappy. I want us all to be happy, and have our moment. There's enough in life to make us unhappy and sad and embarrassed and disappointed. And I don't want any of those things. So those are the reasons. I'm happy to do with anybody offline. And if
Hmm.
they want to share it with you and the group, great. I mean, it's great for them. It's great for me. But those are the only reasons.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. And you did promise to leave your Calendly link inside the
I
group.
will.
Anybody who's watching the replay, if you haven't joined the Mind Explorations group, do so now because you might get a chance to work with Rick live and in person.
Yeah.
Um, right. So you do have a book, and I have already put the link into the chat, and I will be putting the link to Amazon into the show notes as well. So if
Nice.
you're interested in getting Rick's book from Amazon, how much is it, by the way? I didn't check.
I think on Amazon it's like 15 or $16.
Yeah, $17. And euros, look it up, guys, or pounds. You'll find it. And Rick will be speaking, just like myself, at
Yeah.
the Mid America Hypnosis Conference in Chicago, October 17th to the 19th, 2025. If you have nothing to do that weekend, if you would like to learn more about hypnotherapy, all the things business around it, and if you'd like to meet Rick or myself, or Richard Bandler or Chase Hughes, they're coming as well.
Yeah.
They might be the better known names. Then come and join us in Chicago, Arlington Heights. And there's the calendar link. Wonderful. So I'll be
Yeah.
putting that only into the group. That's not going into the YouTube show notes. If you want to get in touch with Rick, you'll have to join the group. So thank you very much to you, Rick, for joining us. Do you have
Oh,
any
thanks for
last
having me.
words? Anything we missed in this conversation that you would like to say?
No, I just hope that people truly embrace how important the choices are in our lives and how they impact everything that we have and everything that we are. I mean, we're all at a place in our business, for example, based on the choices we've made. Things we've been faced with decisions and we've either acted upon them or not. And sometimes, well, all the time, not making a decision, saying, I don't want to think about that. That is a choice. You're saying,
Mhm.
I don't want to deal with it. And so
Yeah,
those are the limiting factors. I think most of us have incredible skills that the rest of the world would be, are envious of and would love to have. And they could have them too, but they have to make the choice to go to train. And they have to
yeah.
spend the time and the money and the effort, just as we all did. And the next step is to be successful in business. All you have to do is replicate those people who are doing it. It's not that complicated.
That's right. Wonderful. And what I've been thinking all the time, it does take time and effort. So it's a lot of wax on, wax off. Sorry
Wow.
for the pun. Karate Kid, if you haven't watched it. And yeah, thanks again, Rick, for joining us. Thanks, everybody in the audience who was here with us live. And thank you for watching the replay. And join us tomorrow with Jody Solberg and Cormac Colleran, a hypnotherapy for addiction, a new approach. So that will be tomorrow, the 23rd of September. Also, I believe at 9 o'clock. 9 p.m. UK time. So join us if you can. And thanks for joining us tonight. So see you
Thanks,
soon. Bye bye.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.